the Ambazonia, pledge our loyalty. Praise the soul of Savior who granted us the freedom. Our legends to the hero who brought along the gather.
Glory will rise and never to fall. Hearing a nation flowing with milk and honey. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our needs. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our needs. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation.
Fellow Ambazonians, it's good to be here today. I'm glad to be amongst the finest sons and daughters of an occupied homeland. I'm glad to be here in front of the United Nations. And I want to thank you for your dedication. Many more miles away from our homeland, standing here in the names of those who laid their lives in the state to be. I'm glad to be here because of your dedication, your patriotism, and sense of nationalism. You've made it here today because you believe in something, a homeland of our own, a country of our own, a place where we can dwell in peace, fail and succeed as a people. We are not here for a safari trip. We haven't come here for holidays. We've come here to tell the United Nations that the land they mortgaged to Cameroon will be recaptured by the brilliant people of Ambazonia. That the complicity they had with the United Kingdom will be dampened. That your spirit, the indomitable spirit that has led you from your homes right here to this plaza, will not be extinguished by the banality of evil installed in our homeland. Yes. That the spirit that has awakened from this dusty street of Mutengene to the alleys of Bamenda will not be squashed by the brutality of Cameroon, the complicity of the United Nations, and the utter silence of the United Kingdom. Yes. For the blood of our people spilled for those who've gone before us. We stand like valiant soldiers to lay our lives to ensure that their blood wasn't spilled in vain. Yes. That they didn't die in vain. Yes. That the mothers who scream for their daughters, the fathers who are on the shore where their kids are detained, wouldn't mourn in vain. Yes. I have come here as a soldier of the revolution. Yes. I have come here to assure you that this is just the first step to internationalize our struggle. Yes. To make the international community understand our pain. Yes. The pain of the mothers. Yes. The yearning of the fathers. Yes. And the doubts plastered on the faces of our kids. Yes. Yes. That the land, the 43 square meter land that we own, will not be mortgaged, will not be taken by any other country. Yes. That we are ready. That we will fight block by block. Yes. Neighborhood by neighborhood. Yes. Yes. Until the day, as the last speaker said, we will be able to install a government in Biya. Yes. A government for the Ambazonians. Yes, yes. A government by the Ambazonians. Yes. Yes. That is going to speak for us. Yes. Back for us. Yes. Make treaties for us. Yes. We are not going to allow an alien dominating power from Yaoundé to decide our future. Yes. Decide the curriculum of our education. Yes. Decide which language we speak in our car. Yes. And if the lawyer said no, right from here in New York, we send a message to Yaoundé that we are ready for the gendarmes, the bee, and all the evil spirits that have been installed in our homeland. That we will give our life for a free Ambazonia. And if this country was built on the blood of people from distant places, we are ready as soldiers of the revolution to make sure that one day Just one day we have a homeland to call our own. Amen. A place to dwell in peace. Yes. A place where we as a people can decide our destiny. Yes. You've just got started. It's a long journey. Liberation is not a walk in the park. Yes. And I want you to be ready. Yes. Do not believe soothsayers who say you are just going to have it on a platter of gold. No. It's going to be a hard struggle. Yes. But the footprints you leave here today, yes, will be followed by those after us. Amen. They will know we were here. Yes. They will know we fought for them. Yes. They will know we died for them. Yes. They will know we did our part. Yes. And so they will use the same road map to be able to inhabit a free country. Amen. If that's the only thing we can give our children, let's do it for Mother Ambazonia. Yeah. I want to thank your leadership. I want to thank all those who've made it possible for me to be here. Together as a people, we will fight together, go to jail together, so one day we may be free together.
Southern Cameroons are here? Ambazonia are here? I'd like for each of us to turn to our neighbor and tell our neighbor, I love you. I love you. You know, I imagine that there was a beautiful girl standing next to me, so I was going to turn and say I love you, and then I turned and said But the reason I say that is very important. Do not say you love somebody, you do not mean it. We are gathered here in the name of Southern Cameroons, we are gathered here in the name of Ambazonia. We are our best enemies. And I tell every leader, every person, because each of us, you, myself, we are all leaders. The people, I said it at the SCNT meeting last Sunday, I'm repeating it here today. The people who told Christ, on Palm Sunday, hail, keep.
Were the very people who killed him on Good Friday.
Acknowledged Ambazonia's existence. In a case, it was the Bamenda High Court case HCB 28/92. He agreed. Additionally, President Biya, some of you may remember, it's funny how these conflicts come and go. A huge thing in the mid-early 2000s, the Bakassa conflict with Nigeria. Well, actually, it was in the early 90s with Sonny Abacha, who isn't getting a lot of good press these days. But when that conflict with Nigeria was resolved, Paul Biya signed a UN treaty, in front of God and everybody in the UN that said the following. Let me quote. I, President Paul Biya of the Republic of Cameroon, in a bid to provide lasting peace to the Bakassa conflict, do hereby commit myself and my government to respect the territorial boundaries of my country as obtained at its independence. Cameroon's independence was obtained January 1st, 1960. Ambazonia wasn't a part of Cameroon in January 1st, 1960. Ambazonia was still part of Nigeria for a few months and then free. So Paul Biya promised in a treaty, and this is important, I'm going to pull back to where I should be, where my country could be. Because he is French, so clearly he says, l'état c'est moi. The state is me. Paul Biya is Cameroon. Cameroon is Paul Biya. I'm going to pull back, and this is where we're going to be. And the UN believed him because they sent surveyors out, and they built these giant pillars that are on the border between Ambazonia and French-speaking Cameroon. So if for a moment you think that there's no legitimacy to this claim, there's a fence. Pretty close to a fence anyway. There's a wall separating Ambazonia, the free and independent nation of Ambazonia, from French Cameroun. And I found out something today. speaking with His Excellency, the President. I find this stunning, and I hope people that are listening and watching today think about what I'm about to say, the gravity of this. If you live in Ambazonia, if you're an English-speaking resident of Ambazonia, and you cross the Mongo River, if you cross into French Cameroun, you have to go through a security checkpoint. You have to present documents, and you have to pay customs on anything you bring back or take in. Just like if you're in Italy and you're crossing over to Switzerland. Just like you're in France and you're crossing into Portugal. It's not one country. They don't think for a minute it's one country. They know better. They're just not acting better because they have themselves a nice colony. And that cannot stand. That house of sand cannot stand, and how great will be that fall. Further, this may be a little unfair, but that's what lawyers do. We bring up unfair stuff. There's a really good chance Paul Biya isn't even legitimately the president of Cameroon. Under any international accords, any concept of international law, because what the Cameroonian Constitution says, that the National Assembly president becomes the head of state until the president is elected within 90 days. So when Ahijo resigned, what should have happened was the head of the National Assembly, president of the National Assembly, should have become the president of Cameroon. Unfortunately, he was Ambazonian. His name was St. Muna. He should have been the president of Cameroon, and then there should have been an election. If anything happens when you have slaves or a colony, you don't let them lead you. So Biya appointed himself president, illegitimately. Illegitimately. How great was its fall when the house of sand, the house built on sand, came down. So you see, there is no basis for any argument against Ambazonia. You have to tell the truth if you're Cameroonian, or if you're on the side of the French-speaking Cameroonians. If you're Macron, before you go to bed at night, when he's not busy telling us how many plastic bottles we should use and standing on tables and cheering on soccer teams, he has to tell himself the truth. And the truth is, Ambazonia is the vassal state, the colony, the slave of Cameroon and of France. There's still a colony in West Africa. He has to tell himself that truth, because no other truth will abide, because there is no other truth. Everything else is a lie, and it's been a lie every day for decades. That's the hope. How great will be the fall. Unfortunately, that's not the end of the story. It's deeply unfortunate. What I just told you, the history of the illegitimacy of this whole process, would be enough for independence. But there's an even greater thing that has happened. There's even more of a reason that everyone out there needs to join together for justice, for liberty, for independence, freedom, equality, and humanity. Now, Biya has embarked on a course of genocide, mass slaughter of innocents. He's not slaughtering his people. He's slaughtering civilians in a country that he has taken over. And they tend to be children. They tend to be beautiful children. And they tend to be women and young men. And they're all civilians because there's not an Ambazonian army. And there's this tendency, and I don't want to get too horrific or explicit here, but one of the powerful messages he sends to those that he's enslaved and colonized, the favored way of the militias, the security forces, and the military. And that's an amazing word, isn't it? Militia. That means anything. Anybody that you can pay to kill somebody, they're in a militia. And then you say it really wasn't me. And Biya says, oh, it's really Ambazonians killing Ambazonians. And that's nonsense. But one of the favored ways, the horror-filled ways, one of the reasons I can't let my children look at my computer when I'm working on these files is because of the how do I say, is they like to wound the Ambazonian children and women and then burn them to death while they're still alive. And they burn their homes. There's been over 400 villages razed, leveled by fire. Or they do it in the streets. And why do they do it that way? And why do I say it's a favored tactic, not just an accident? Because they're sending a message. You shoot someone in the night, or you shoot someone in the forest 200 feet away, no one really sees that unless they're standing with you or with the person that got killed. But if there are villages being burned and the horrible screams of people being burned alive, that gets heard, that gets seen, and the message is sent. And the message is very clear. The message is, your God isn't here to help you. I command you. I am the demon, the devil that can destroy you and will. Don't rise up against me. That is the message that Paul Biya is sending. And that is the message that I hope when President Macron, before he goes to bed at night, stops telling us how many plastic bottles to drink from, stops standing on tables rooting for his soccer team, who were primarily from Africa, but that's another story. I hope he understands that that's the real message that he's sending. It's not about plastic bottles or soccer teams. It's about children being burned to death just to preserve an illegitimate colony that should have never existed. There are over 2 million people that have been displaced. Many of them have crossed over and gone into Nigeria, which has its own problems. It's not exactly a great place to flee to. Things must be pretty bad if you look to Nigeria as a place where you can find peace and comfort and respite. And under the international law, as Mr. Fine said, it's both the right and the duty of the people to throw off a government that is seeking to reduce them to absolute despotism, seeking to reduce them to slavery and to being a colony. And that politically defenseless minorities can escape oppression. And we have more than that here. It's not a minority, it's a separate nation that has been oppressed and enslaved. They've been murderously denied their internationally mandated rights.
Hail this land of glory, we the Ambazonia, pledge our loyalty. Praise the soul of Savior who granted us the freedom. Our legends to the hero who fought along with Ayaba.
Glory will rise and never to fall. Leading a nation flowing with milk and honey. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our needs. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this day.